Welcome to Cord Cutting Today for July 27th, 2019. This is the show where I break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting from today and the past week for our Saturday edition. If you want to learn more about these stories, in the show notes down below I'll put a link to each story. You can read about them for yourself, come up with your own opinions. We'd love to hear from you. If you are new here, hey, do me a big favor, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. It really does help us because it lets us know and lets Google know you enjoy what we're doing here. And hopefully we can help you break free from the high cost of cable TV and still watch the shows you enjoy. Now this is our Saturday show. We used to call this cord cutting this week. Remove some confusion. We're going to be calling them cord cutting today and continuing the number series because I got a lot of emails from people saying, hey, you suddenly went backwards in the numbering and more. So just a little clarification, this is our Saturday edition. We're going to look at some of the biggest stories from the past week still. We're going to look forward to some of the stories to look for next week. But I'm going to try to answer your cord cutting related questions from the stories of the past week. So if you ever have a question on a story, feel free to leave us a comment here. Sometimes I answer them in the comments and sometimes I bring them here if I see a lot of the same question and try to answer them in the weekend on Saturday videos. So I hope that helps clarify the new naming strategy in the Saturday edition. Let's dive into it. First, two stories that broke late yesterday that I didn't include in yesterday's video. Sling TV and Dish lost their Fox regional sports networks. Their contract technically ended on Monday. Disney currently owns the Fox regional sports networks, but they're operating independently as they're being sold to Sinclair. Now, according to the deal that happened, they got an extension on Monday that seemed to have gone until noon Eastern, I believe it was, on Friday. So that deal expired. They didn't get a new contract. Dish is blaming the Fox Regional Sports Network, saying they only wanted a one-year contract and they were setting it up to end just as the 2020 Major League Baseball contract ended. So it seemed, according to Dish, it seemed like the Fox Regional Sports Networks was trying to use Major League Baseball as a weapon against Dish, and they weren't willing to go against that. I'm sure Fox Regional Sports Network has a different theory on this. Disney's pushed the idea that they wanted a temporary extension just long enough to clear out the deal so that they can sell the Fox Regional Sports Networks to Sinclair, who will be the new owner, and then Sinclair can negotiate a long-term contract. Dish wants a longer contract. They definitely don't want it to stop right before Major League Baseball. So unfortunately for Sling TV and Dish customers, you don't have your Fox Regional Sports Networks. Hopefully that changes soon. We'll be watching this story very closely. If you want to read a statement from Dish, I have it in the show notes down below. If you want a full breakdown of this whole process of Disney buying the Fox Regional Sports Networks as part of their deal with Fox, agreeing with the Department of Justice to sell it to get approval, and now Sinclair owning them. Unfortunately though, Sinclair hasn't completed that deal, which makes these talks a lot more difficult than they typically would be. All right, next story, and let me know what you think of this. Do you agree with Dish? Do you agree with Disney? Let me know what you think. One other story that happened late yesterday, T-Mobile and Sprint have officially received Department of Justice approval. Now this isn't a done deal, but it's part of a deal with Dish to sell Spectrum and Boost Mobile to Dish. T-Mobile and Sprint's merger was approved by the Department of Justice. 13 states and the District of Columbia, though, are suing to block this under fears of lack of competition, that this would basically raise prices because it will reduce competition. It will be interesting to see how the Dish, as a fourth major competitor, they're now, or will be when this deal is finalized, the fourth largest cell phone provider in the United States, how that will line up. Now that this is a factor that has to be considered with a lawsuit. Now there is a website called slingwireless.com, which makes it possible that the new phone company would be called Sling. You have Sling TV, sling.com, and slingwireless.com, which would be a pretty cool deal. Maybe we can find a bundle deal here where Sling is bundled into your phone plan, similar to how AT&T kind of gives you a discount if you're a AT&T wireless customer on DirecTV, or did in the past. So be interested, and I'd love to know what you think of Dish as the fourth largest company out there. What do you think of the T-Mobile Sprint merger approval now that they've agreed to sell Spectrum, give T-Mobile or give Dish access to the T-Mobile network? T-Mobile assist with the transition of this to help create Dish as the fourth largest competitor. I love Dish being a competitor. It kind of does bring more competition into this world. But I'd love to know what you think, because there is, Sprint and T-Mobile will merge, give them a lot more power, give them the ability to maybe compete better with AT&T Verizon, but it does make a slightly weaker fourth place competitor in this race. Now, I do think Dish, if all the companies out there, they could definitely get their name out there. They could definitely probably make their fourth place competitor a serious one, and maybe even race Sprint and T-Mobile for third place. We'll see what happens. So those are the two big news stories that came out after yesterday's video. Let me know what you think of these stories, and I'd love to hear from you. But let's answer some questions now about stories that have come up in the past that a lot of people were concerned about and wanting to know more about. Number one is AT&T and DirecTV. AT&T's DirecTV Now losing 168,000 subscribers. I did make an error in the earlier video where I said AT&T lost 700-some thousand subscribers in total. That's not completely true. They lost 700,000 UVerse and DirecTV customers. DirecTV Now's 168,000 was on top of that. So close to 1 million subscribers lost. You're correct. When you get these news releases and you're racing to try to cover them all, or you're reading the press release, that can happen. My apologies. And thank you to everybody who pointed that out. But this means that AT&T lost over 1 million subscribers, raising a lot of questions of, hey, with the death of cable, would this mean streaming will become more expensive? I don't think so, because we see even more services coming on. T-Mobile TV, whenever that launches, VidGo, supposed to launch in the next few weeks, and more are all rumored to be coming as a live TV service. Verizon's now selling YouTube TV, which will probably give YouTube TV a huge boost in subscriber number. So I really do think that there is the ability here for streaming to continue to stay low. Now remember, it's not like there's only 1 or 2 streaming services. You have 8, 9, 10 or more streaming services competing still with very large companies. AT&T losing 1 million customers still makes them the second largest TV company in the United States. Keep that in mind, that just because they're losing, there's still tens of millions of subscribers. I had to put a rough number on it, probably around 80 million total with all the small cable companies, etc., all combined. So this is still a long ways to go, but it's a huge dent from where cable TV was at its peak back in the day. Now, to address all this, AT&T has announced AT&T TV. Now, if you remember, we broke that news back on the 4th of July that AT&T's new service would likely be called AT&T TV, and we had a full breakdown. A lot of people, though, were still asking, what will AT&T TV be? So I wanted to give a quick breakdown of what we know. Still a lot we don't know, and I'll cover that. But according to the leaked documents that were posted online, AT&T TV will start in a few markets next year, and it will continue to roll out through the end of the year. This perfectly lines up with what AT&T announced, that AT&T TV will start launching this quarter and be nationwide by the end of 2019. So perfect line up with what the sources posted online. AT&T also confirmed that this will be a lot about you buying a device, bringing it home, and plugging it in, which lines up perfectly. Those AT&T streaming Android TV boxes that DirecTV customers have been beta testing are the device. Very interesting, AT&T talked about how those basically call DirecTV Now customers beta testers, because we know AT&T TV will run on the DirecTV Now software using the DirecTV Now Android TV box. The idea would be you have to go to an AT&T store, buy the AT&T Android powered box, take it home, plug it into your internet, and there's your cable box. We don't know about contracts, we don't know about pricing. AT&T repeatedly calls this a thin version of DirecTV that will, quote, be their main focus. It seems that AT&T, and they said this in the earnings call, wants to lower the cost of getting new customers by not having to have a truck sitting in your neighborhood waiting for you to call to come get UVerse or DirecTV TV. Now you will be the one going to your AT&T store, buying the box, taking it home. No need to send somebody home, no need to wire your house, no need to give you a bunch of free boxes that you'll rent. You just buy it up front, which lowers the cost of acquisition to customers, which AT&T says will allow them to offer cheaper packages. The question here is contracts. We don't know. Pricing, we don't know. What does thin mean in channel lamp? We don't know. What we do know is, according to the sources online, that when this happens, UVerse TV will stop being sold. As far back as like 2016, reports had started coming out that AT&T wanted to walk away from UVerse now that they own DirecTV. If you think about it, UVerse is kind of a streaming service. A little different work in there because they kind of partition it out. It's a long story. But AT&T TV will necessarily be replacing that from the sounds of it. So if you're a UVerse customer, you will continue to be able to use your service. When this service launches in the test markets, those test markets will no longer get UVerse TV. And once it goes nationwide, UVerse TV will stop being sold nationwide. Very well in line with what's happening. AT&T stopped promoting UVerse TV to promote DirecTV. They've really you can get it, it's just a lot more difficult. And the marketing, the ads, the PR is just not there for it like it used to be. So this lines up perfectly with what we've heard before. So I'd love to know, well, what do you think? What are your thoughts on AT&T TV? If it has a contract, I'm not sure I consider it a cord cutting service. If it doesn't have a contract, I don't think it's any real different than DirecTV Now, Sling TV, and the others. We'll have to wait and learn more. We should know more in the next few weeks. So keep an eye on Cord Cutters News. We got this one right from the beginning. We'll be watching it very closely. If we learn anything more, we'll be posting about it. All right, next story up of the day. Next week, Ultraviolet is shutting down. You need to act now to save your movies. A lot of people question like, hey, if I have a TV show, does that count? Yes, so anything in your Ultraviolet library needs to be linked to like Vudu for it to transfer over. If once July 31st comes, and if you haven't linked, at the end of the day, you're going to lose that content. They've been emailing people, warning people. Yes, you need to act no matter what you have in your Ultraviolet catalog. If you don't link it to like Vudu or another supported service by the end of July 31st, 2019, so next week, you're going to lose that movie. Very simple. It takes like 5 minutes to do. It's free to get a Vudu account and just transfer it over. All right, next story up. There's a lot of blackouts happening. Meredith Dish stations don't have Meredith. CBS stations are gone on all of DirecTV, and in CBS owned markets on DirecTV. All of DirecTV Now, and in CBS owned markets on DirecTV. And Nexstars on DirecTV and DirecTV Now are gone. So a lot of people have been asking, why is this happening? I think cord cutting is a big part of that. I think you can't ignore the fact that AT&T and Dish have fewer subscribers, so they have less money. At the same time, that results because you pay per customer to like Nexstar and CBS and Meredith, and then that means they're getting less. So they want more money per subscriber to make up for the fact that there's fewer subscribers. At the same time, Dish and AT&T are like, hey, we're making less money too. How much more are these local stations asking for? According to AT&T's CEO during the earnings call, there's some legality here because it was an earnings call, so you have to assume this was real. If it wasn't, that's false statements to investors, etc. I'm no lawyer, but that's a generalist explanation here of why this is probably true or extremely close to being true. Nexstar was pushing for a 100% increase. They wanted to double the fee that you're paying for Nexstar-owned locals. And currently that contract is sitting at 50%. They wanted it to go up by 50%. AT&T is pushing back saying, hey, we're losing subscribers, people are very price conscious, we can't be doubling the price of your locals. So I'd love to know what you think of this. This really does give us a look into the mindset of these companies. AT&T did hint that they're much closer to a deal with CBS to bring CBS back to DirecTV and DirecTV Now than with Nexstar. Nexstar made it sound like they're very far away from getting a deal. And they kind of made it sound like that Nexstar and CBS are kind of talking, kind of not talking. So I have to wait and see what happens with that. But that is the news of the week. A few things to look forward to. We got some more earnings calls next week. It's been earnings week. It's that time of the year. That's why we learned all this stuff happening because of the earnings call. But Dish will be on Monday afternoon. We'll get the Dish numbers, which should give us an idea on Sling TV. Sometimes they give out Sling TV numbers, sometimes they don't. They used to never disclose Sling TV numbers, and then a few quarters ago they started to. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that Monday afternoon. Look for other companies to be giving out their earnings numbers, so we'll keep a very close eye on this. I do predict that we'll probably hit 2 million new cord cutters in the second quarter of 2019, smashing all records, biggest quarter ever in the history of cord cutting. Keep an eye out too for some other news. We got VidGo on the horizon. They've announced in the next few weeks they'll be coming out. Not expecting that next week, but going forward. There's a rumor of a new Roku Wi-Fi extender. Is there other Roku products? Probably not next week, but in the future, we'll probably get a good eye on that. So we're keeping a very close look at some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting. So hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up so you don't miss any of them, and hopefully we can help you break free from the high cost of cable TV and still watch the shows you enjoy. So everybody have a great weekend. Be safe out there. Drink a lot of water. It's hot down here in Texas again. I will see you on Monday for a brand new Cord Cutting Today episode. Take care, everyone.